So I've been looking forward to today because I just had to rewire myself because I've been speaking Danish with today's guest. And we are from the same neck of the wood in Denmark. And we just agreed that we will try to control ourselves with our very direct Danish language. And it might be some swearing words here and there. So just a bit of disclaimer. Morten asked for that before we started out today.
Yeah, and also I've been living in London more than a year, and I hope that my English would be better now. But yeah, it will be a little bit Danglish. I hope that's okay.
Well, I still getting asked where I'm from after 15 years now in the UK, so it's okay. It's good to have an accent. They know where you're from. Actually, being Danish is quite a good thing there in the UK. But we're not talking about the UK today. We're going to be talking about your adventure with your business partner in DiningSix, and we're going to talk about how you've created a place that really stands out when it comes to build a great culture, but also how you actually grow the business across borders and the structure, the ownership, and much, much more. I'm very looking forward to that because I already learned new stuff, even though I've met you a couple of times, Morten. There's been some really exciting things that really determined how you actually built the company as you have. But just for context again, for the people listening into this episode, where we're going to be talking about DiningSix, can you talk a bit about your own journey, because you have your own entrepreneurial journey, and how you came around to found the business with 5 other people, 6 in total?
Yeah, we started 6. That's why the name DiningSix of the group, where 5 of us are still 100% in the company.
Yeah.
But yeah, almost 15 years ago, we got this opportunity to, I don't know exactly English word. It's the way you can do a business in Denmark, but it's almost like a franchise, a restaurant or a cafe. It was a cafe in the second biggest city in Denmark called Aarhus. We got the opportunity to franchise this place, and we were this group. We got this opportunity, and then we sit down, 6 of us, and said we can do this. And all of us was working together as a bartender and waiter in Aarhus that days, and we were young, and I think we could do whatever. It would be no problem to make a great
bit
success.
Naive maybe.
Yeah, I would say now, but and then we took over this cafe and made it to actually everything. There was a cafe, it was a restaurant, it was a nightclub, more or less. So we were, everything. And we worked really hard to make a lot of turnover, but didn't focus at all at profit. But we did okay turnover, but we were okay popular. We have a lot of people, but we struggled to make profit. But we worked there ourselves as waiters, bartenders, and chefs, and had individual roles, and we did everything just to do turnover. And then after some years, luckily we didn't lose that much money, but we didn't make any money. So after some years, we said, okay, let's stop this. But 2 of the other guys said, okay, we really need to give this a chance because we also learned a lot. And then we went to the bank and we succeeded to borrow some money. And then in that days, there was a Copenhagen-based steakhouse just came out, which was a little bit up level. And this steakhouse thing was a big thing coming in. And we said, okay, let's try to make a good quality steakhouse, but with another kind of perspective to how we do service. And we got the money from the bank, and we said, okay, let's try to give it a real shot, not only have a franchise. So we opened that, and together with all we learned, and together with one of the first shitstorms in social media in Denmark from a vegan group hating on us making this steakhouse, and we call it kød, which means meat in Denmark. And we had this vegan group that made a shitstorm on us, gave us a lot of publicity in the medias in Denmark. So from first day, we were fully booked because all the meat lovers said, we don't want to listen to the vegans. We want to support these young entrepreneurs who are going to open this restaurant. So we were fully booked from day one. And all we learned from this franchise was a great success for us. So actually we made money almost from first month when we opened this steakhouse. So that was a really amazing start, but also a tough start because we were young, our first real restaurant. We painted ourselves. We stood there, and suddenly a lot of people were hating on us on online. And it was before, it was beginning of Facebook, so we didn't know what a shitstorm was.
No.
So we were just feeling a lot of people was hating on us. And 1 week before we opened, I think we have 500 reviews on TripAdvisor and stuff like that. And it was, half of them was 5 stars saying we look forward to come and support you. And half of them was vegans who's making hate of us. So it was really a roller coaster ride to open this restaurant. But then we got success, and I always wanted to try Copenhagen. So I moved there, and we opened another steakhouse over there in Copenhagen. And actually, it was also a success. So suddenly we had 2 restaurants. We kept our cafe, and now we have 2 restaurants and the cafe. And can we do one more? We did one more in Copenhagen, and suddenly we have 4 restaurants doing actually okay money. So we were running it like we were all waiters, we were managers, we did it ourselves, and we looked at each other and said, okay, we do something right here. Let's try to make this more professional. So we contacted some people in the business, and we got a board set up, and we tried to make a strategy. And we can see there was some steakhouse, but also other brands in Denmark, they just keep opening the same brand all over, and suddenly the interest was not there anymore.
Yeah, diluted.
So instead of opening a lot of restaurants with the same brand, we tried to put up more brands. So we had this Italian concept called Basso. We made up, opened that in Aarhus as well, moved it to Copenhagen, and we made a strategy to make a multi-brand group instead, because we also knew that day that this steak could maybe one day be something that people don't want to eat, but so far so good. So we put up this multi-brand strategy, and really long story short, we are now here with 18 restaurants based in mostly, of course, Denmark, but also Norway with 6 restaurants, and then we open our first restaurant here in London, where I'm based now, and hopefully we're going to open more here. From that small cafe to here 14 years after, it's been a crazy journey, and it's been amazing.
It's interesting. You talked about that you had multiple concepts to avoid dilution, and I get create excitement and could be able to change quicker. But how many concepts do you operate now?
We have 5 concepts, which are concept we're gonna expand with.
Yeah.
And then we have some one-off concepts. We have 2 one-off concepts we're gonna only put here. We have one partnership with a big celebrity YouTube chef in Denmark. Yeah. Which are not such expandable. But so we have 5 concepts we're gonna expand right now, but maybe more will come. But we have a different kind of concept.
But 18 restaurant and 5 concept, I think that's very well done.
Yeah, it is.
And interesting about it, just touch a bit upon, you were 6, now you're 5. That would, for many people listening in, and myself, when I hadn't clocked that DiningSix was because you were 6 people. I knew you were a number of partners now, but the dynamics of having so many partners, how does that work, and how do you manage that? Because sometimes just having a co-founder, probably many would listen in and say, yeah, that's challenging, or leadership group.
Yeah, of course it can, and it is challenging sometimes, and to make it more challenging, I can tell 2 of them was a couple. I was one of them, but was a couple when we started, not anymore, and 2 of them is twin brothers. So to make it even more complicated, it was not only 6 friends, it was also couples and families, everything mixed together. But I think one of the biggest reasons that we did 4 years of this cafe with not making any money at all. We didn't lose any money. So we had 4 years where we could really learn our strength and weakness and really know what the dynamic was. Yeah. So right now we are 5 of us left, but we know each other so well. We know strengths and weakness, and all of us is full time here in the group still, but we have a different kind of role, and we don't mix in that. So the twin brothers are really, really good in the food and the concept, the menus, the chefs, everything about that. I never mix in that. I never try to speak about what should be on the menu card. Only if it's on my perspective. I'm the marketing kind of guy. So of course I come with advice about the menu if it's something to do with marketing. But I never try to speak about if should be one ingredients or another, because I don't know anything about food. So I will let it up to them who's good at that.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the biggest reasons that we respect each other's pros and cons.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point, and I think having that conversation as well is key.
Yeah.
To any business. Often you don't have that, and then you get frustrated about the other one's shortfalls more than you see their strengths.
And then of course we have put in a external board who sometimes are trying to be in between, but we also give a lot of response to our management team. So in sometimes they're also a part of this. So we really try to. We say, do you have the partner hat on now, or do you have the employee hat on now?
Yeah.
Because we can't mix in that. So it's really important for us to say, when you have an argument or anything, which eyes are you looking at?
Yeah.
Do you look with your point of view as a partner, or the role you have in the company?
Yeah.
So we really, really focus about putting up these barriers in the way we work.
Yeah, and I guess also now that you work across different countries.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess you're not in the same place all the time. So again, it demands even more from communication. But I think, again, coming back to when I talk with other founders, been together for a long time, it's that initial time you have together where you come out of that, strengthened, not weakened.
Yeah. And so that was really difficult, especially for me when I moved here to London. I was the CEO of the company, and I could feel that the company went too big for me. I'm more like an entrepreneur kind of guy. Mm-hmm. So one of the reasons to move here was also to start over and start again, to building up something. But it's really hard for me to see something now in the way we do things in Denmark that's not the same way I would do it.
Yeah.
But I have to accept that I cannot.
Yeah.
I have to respect that. It cannot be the same way because, of course, I'm not there.
Yeah.
So I moved myself. So why should I try to mix in that?
Yeah, and the reason why I'm circling a bit around the founder journey, because that already always set the scene for what kind of business you're building and how it is to be employed there and how it is to be a guest there. And what is actually the vision and mission for DiningSix today? Because you already come very far within 14 years.
Yeah, it is to make a profitable business with nice people, actually. And we want to have fun, but you have more fun when you make money. That's actually obviously, but people are really important for us, and be nice. We have to make a disclaimer now. I'm gonna swear, but we have a mantra for our staff saying you have to be fucking nice.
Yeah.
And that's what we say to our new employees. Just be nice. Be nice to each other, be nice to the guests. And it's not important for us that our waiters know everything about any vineyard in France or Italy or something like that. Just be nice. And if you can recommend a wine you like, it's often more better to, instead of telling any story you read in a book about some kind of vineyard.
Yeah.
So we really, really trying to get this niceness out in the culture for our staff, and both for our guests and also for their colleagues. And so far we succeeded with that, to be that nice. But it's, of course, we have to be nice as well, and that's getting. It's not getting harder, but it's more difficult when you grow and you suddenly are a big group. We are more than 700 staff now, so you, in some way, no matter how you do it, you go corporate. And I hate being in a corporate company, but when you are so big, you have to do something that's corporate. And making this niceness and corporate together, it's difficult, I would say.
It's interesting. You have this, principle, values, whatever you call it, pillar you call niceness. And of course, if you want to have fun, you need to make a profitable business. And often what I talk about in the podcast, if you don't make a profit, you're not going to be doing any good or impact in the world, because you're just going to be struggle. And everybody listening they've probably been in that situation. Most people in hospitality have been in a place where it really struggled with profitability and there was no fun. Yeah. Because there was no money to have fun for. But how do you, can you see that, just having that singular focusing on being fucking nice, as you call it, really helps also delivering sometimes without have to have rules and, processes and systems. Often you can go in very corporate environment. You have where I come from, originally trained in McDonald's, there's procedures about how the customer service should be perceived.
If I can see the values about it. Yeah, definitely. I can see also we focus a lot about the ratings from our customer. Every day they have 99% of our guests are pre-booked in a booking system, so they get this link where they can make feedback, and we get amazing feedbacks, and a lot of them are mentioning the staff, the personality and the way they're treating the guest. And sometimes actually we can also see that it maybe get a bad review because there were too much personality. So it's sometimes it's a mix, and also moving over here, we have a lot of Danish and Scandinavian staff over here. And the gap between nice and rude is actually really difficult sometimes here in UK for me, because for Scandinavians, sometimes you're actually just trying to make a joke or something like that with your guest. Maybe you're too direct, maybe you are. So of course we can see it straight away in our feedbacks, this niceness.
Yeah. Well, I've heard when I moved here, and I don't know if that's, again, the Scandinavian, we have some kind of, very dark humor sometimes. So we go really well with the Scottish,
yes.
but sometimes we struggle with the English. And I guess then if you're bringing the culture, you need to adapt that. One of the things I always wanted to know, how do you actually, you talked about when you're growing the business, it's get harder to master this, less corporate, you need to put more, system, processes in play, rules. How do you do that as you scale and then still keep that nerve? Because I guess I can hear that when you talk about it, I see it in your eyes, that you have like this special nerve around your culture, and it works really well. How do you keep it alive?
We keep it alive, like giving a lot of this free space to the managers. So for us, it's the managers who have to be the personality out in the business. And here in London as well, I'm one of the managers. So me and the other managers, we are the personality. And I'm working together with them as a waiter, take the dishes. I'm there side by side with them. Yeah. And so scaling here in London is really, I really put focus on being together with them. Not to and so far a lot of both guests and also employees think it's a joke or something that you can never be the owner when you're standing there and taking the dishes. But I like to be there, and I like to see the difference I make, and also the way we do the culture impact with working there with them, instead of writing out an email or standing in a staff meeting telling them to be nice. I love to be there next to them and show them that I really mean it. We should be nice and do this little extra thing to be nice for our co-workers and our guests.
And I guess also that it's interesting that you have that role. It seems like you're going, when it has to expand, you move first Copenhagen, then London. I don't know if you were in Oslo and...
No, I didn't move to Oslo, but I was with them for a while, yeah.
And there's also because that I guess you're planting the seeds for the culture you need to keep the DiningSix nerve alive.
Yeah, it was not that planned, but yeah, of course, it's really important for us. And if we ever open a new country or a new city, we really need one of the partners to go there with us, or make a partnership with somebody who understands the way we do it. So for example, in Norway, we have a partner in the Norwegian part, and he worked with us and he totally understands the way we do it, and he moved to Oslo and he was the culture in the beginning there. So we can see that it's really important. We cannot make a management from another country or another city to make this kind of management. So yeah, it's really important.
Do you somewhere to keep that principle alive around being nice to each other and the guests? Do you measure that? Besides, you get the customer feedback in, then you can definitely see there's some response from the customer, and that's great. You can give that back to the employee, but how do you measure if you're successful on keeping it alive?
Feedback is of course one of the biggest measure, and then of course also if we are profitable, because we can see it straight away. If we have a business where we have some kind of manager who was demotivated or where something that's not nice in the work, we can see it straight away, both in the feedback and in the profit. So, yeah, we measure that a lot. But of course, happiness is really hard to measure and to make it. But of course, we send out surveys for staff and stuff like that, and people have the options to report. But I think the most in guest feedback is the best way for us to measure, because without happy staff, we don't have happy guests.
Yeah. What about things like when you come to a new country, you set the scene, you moved here? Have you felt there was some of your Scandinavian heritage that's made it easier for you to establish yourself just staying here, that you just moved to London, you've been here for a year now, you opened, had really good success, and it's something that's been easier around the staff bit, because this is a very difficult market right now here in the UK, and it's difficult everywhere in the world for hospitality, but London is one of the really, really difficult places to hire the right people and enough of them.
Of course, London is actually a big Danish city. There's a lot of Danish citizens in London. Yeah. And of course, I started with contacting all Danes I heard about living here. You were one of them. And so I spoke with a lot of Danish people here. And then they spoke with each other, blah, blah, blah. And of course, we got some advantage in getting staff in. And I think we're around 12 Danes in the restaurant now. I only brought 4 of them from Denmark. Rest of them are locals found over here. And of course, some of them bring in their friends or their old colleagues and stuff like that. So yeah, we used our Danish heritage a lot to get this. And yeah, so also both in the staff point of view, but also in the marketing and the guest point of view, invited in all the Danes in London.
Yeah. The most Danes that I know that have definitely been there know about you.
Yeah.
Definitely for, you talked about as well, a storm. You had a storm over here in the media as well, because you were charging for tap water.
I didn't charge, I have to say that. I didn't charge. I said you can get it for free, but at least if you get free tap water, then donate something to charity.
For Red Cross, wasn't it?
Exactly.
That's how it was. But still, again, it was quite amazing how much publicity you got that. Almost counterintuitive. A bit like the old business guy in Denmark called Spies had this travel company. He said, no bad PR. There's no bad PR. Everything works, and it gives you the reputation you need to grow. Well, so now then you become bigger. Have you then defined do you have big companies that will have people strategies in place for making sure that they become the right place to work, so they can attract talent and grow their businesses? Or how does that work?
Yes or no? We have of course some kind of onboarding process that people have to go through this kind of test and learn this, but that's only a small part of it. I think still we're keeping the most important thing is to give our management the free will to hire the people they want, so they can decide if they have the right personality to work in their kind of restaurant. So there's some kind of things that's the same for one concept to another, but there's also a big difference working in one kind of kø to another kø, and also between countries and cities. There's a big difference between the culture in UK to Norway to Denmark, but also in Denmark between Copenhagen and Aarhus. There's a big difference, and there have to be that different. You cannot make it that strict when you work in that big area. You have to adapt to the local culture and personalities.
And how do you then give them, when your principal give them a very permission to operate? How do you actually give them that? How do you make sure that they actually can go and do that? Because some people will really struggle if they didn't have, this is the way we do it. This is the way we sit down and hire people. This is how you greet the customer. The whole very, procedural model often happens when you get past 4 or 5. You need to really conceptualize your business.
But so far we succeeded with keeping staff for a really long period, and a lot of our managers are people that started from as a waiter a dishwasher or whatever. So actually, one of the managers I brought to London started when we opened the first kød in Aarhus in 2014.
Wow.
And she moved here to London to help opening the restaurant. And then now she just took back to Denmark to be a manager of one of the other restaurants. So we have a big kind of group that been working with us so long now.
Yeah.
So the culture is keep giving to each other, I think. And then, of course, we are still, as a partner group, we are still really close to the managers and to the people who operates, and try to be involved and try to be there as much as possible. And the operations is for us always more important than the administration. So we try to put the focus in them.
Are you all somehow involved in the front line? Still, I know you are, and I guess the food people are.
Yeah, in somehow, not directly involved, but they're in contact.
Yeah.
Every day with some kind from the front line.
Yeah.
So we are out there in some way.
Yeah.
One of them is building new concepts. So he's there when we open a new restaurant. He's there helping with the kitchen and chop a tomato or whatever needed. So, and we speak with our frontline people. Yeah, we really try to be involved.
Before we move on, also that one of the things you mentioned before is that your owner structure, because you think like to get to 18 restaurants, then you at some point need to bring in investment capital, or borrow more money from the bank, or so how are you structured? How is the owner structure?
We are us 5 in the main group. We got, of course, some help from the bank from some of the money, and then in some concept, or for example with Norway, we have a partner, but that's more like an operation partner. We don't have any financial partner involved. Mm. So we managed to do this organic so far with help from the bank, of course. And besides the restaurants, we also have some catering kitchen in Denmark where we do a lot of catering for. Yeah. So far we did it organic.
So no shareholders, no VCs, no private equity. What did that do when you want to build the right place to work? Do you think that as an advantage, or?
I think it's both pros and cons, but in some ways it's for culture perspective. There's really a lot of pros that we have forced ourselves to do something else for the staff, because we cannot give them the best pay in the business. We cannot give them the best pension or the best maternity leave or anything like that. We cannot do that. But we could do something else, and we can make a really nice and fun place to work. So we were also, in the whole period we grow, we were forced to be creative to make a nice place to work and be nice to people, because they want to work next to us, together with us. So for that, there was, of course, a pro for us, but the consequence is that we cannot just attract somebody. We cannot just go to a competitor or whatever and just hire the biggest profile. We never did that because we couldn't afford it, because we always focus on the next step. And if we want to expand, we will have to focus on the cash flow as well.
Yeah. So it's self-financed in principle, besides the bank. So I think super interesting. But can you talk a bit about the initiatives you then do to make people stay for so long? What is that you think that makes people stay? Because like having a manager that has been with you almost from the day one of the journey, and so like the people dream about that.
Yeah. What we did to keep them,
or just what kind of initiatives do you put in place as?
I think we do a lot of putting in their personality and make something for them, and some of them grow with us. And of course, I'm also a different place now when I'm 38 now, have 2 kids instead of me for 10 years ago with no kids, and I could work 24 hours. So I think we try to put focus in their perspective, what is good for them. And the example with the manager we brought here, that she wants to try London, and when she could feel, okay, I miss my family and my friends in Denmark, okay, then we find another place for you back in Denmark. So we really try to put everybody in the individual position and focus on there's a big difference being 25, no kids, and also being 33 and maybe gonna have kids or whatever. So we really try to find the right balance because we can see it on ourselves in the way we do our own privacy life.
Yeah, and I guess also what helps being 5 partner, I don't know if that's true, but I guess then you also spread that burden to being able to be available for your 700 people. I know there's still a lot of people. There's almost more than 100 people per person, but I guess that helps you to be in touch with everything.
Yeah, exactly. And we have so different personality, all 5. So some like to speak with me, some don't, because I think, and some like to speak with some of the others because the way we speak and too direct or too creative or whatever. So that we have different personality, and I think that's also give a good mix. So there's always one partner you can go to no matter what kind of situation you're in.
What is the most important thing that you've had to unlearn of building, a great place to work? We all have a vision for that as founders of businesses, how it will work, and then often doesn't work out. That's not how the culture is created. What was one of the biggest things you needed to unlearn?
Unlearn?
Yeah.
It was actually just that I couldn't write it down. I couldn't read it in a book. I had to put it had to be my personality. I couldn't just, take an education or anything else to build this up, because I have to be myself and me all the way to make this culture and to be the nice culture. We had to be there ourselves. And so I think we struggled to find a way to put this into something you could just learn everybody, but it's still the same. When I train a new manager, I cannot just give them a handbook and say, this is where you do it. I have to be there side by side with them and learn them as we go. So when we opened here in London, I really tried a lot of times to write it down or make a handbook how to open a curry restaurant, but I couldn't find the right words or explain it. So it was really, I had to just do it myself and be there. I think was one of the, especially open over here.
Yeah, and I guess also you almost need to rewrite the handbook.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the handbook can only be some hardcore facts. It cannot this between the lines culture. You cannot write it down.
How do you build that? Because you must demand a lot of trust to give that out again to. So you go and train the managers, then you build them up, you give them a sense of the culture, and then you're on your own in principle, and you go and make decisions about the business. How do you build up that trust, and when do you know they're ready for it? Is there like some kind of, is it different or?
Yeah, it is different, but I think trust is, for me, it's a really big word.
Yeah.
But actually also after moving over here, because in London, trust isn't there. There's no trust in the way you work and the way you live here in London. And it's really hard for me because as a standard, I trust everybody. So not locking my bike to put my baby to sleep outside the cafe, but also in the way I work with the employees and also with the guest. I do a lot of the customer support, writing with the guest. And right now we don't charge deposit for bringing groups, which are also not a common thing over here because of the trust issue, I assume. So this is really something that triggered me when moving here. Always get this trust question, because I just really trust people, and I also just do it in my management. But I get this a lot of time here in London. How can you trust people that much?
Yeah, because I guess also how do you then, because if you hire local people that's used to, in the way trust is seen is like, there's in principle, nobody trusts you, therefore they follow up on you. You have a very top-down kind of, if it's a small organization, a big organization, there's always somebody following up on you.
Yes.
That's typical, the very hierarchical kind of feature of a, British management culture. And I think in general, Western management culture, I've also seen this in Denmark, by the way. There's often very unhealthy cultures.
I can really feel that. Also trying, and it's especially for the new employees, they have to learn the way we do it, and especially here locally, they have to see it a lot of times. And if there's something little bit mix, they can straight away they try to claim you. So yeah, we have to always be there and show them that they can trust us, because they learn from something else.
Have there something that you would undo on that journey on around, because trust is really essential in any culture, but
yeah, of course,
is there anything you would undo, especially moving over here, or do you think it's winning, you're catching up now?
No, I'm really satisfied that we kept this personality and we kept this all the way, but I can also see that in some point, in some years, when we grow with more restaurants, in some way, in someday, I need to accept some of these premises. I will never say I will never take deposit, because I know it will happen someday when we have more restaurants over here. I can see that already. So I would try to keep my personality as long as I can over here. But yeah, I will not undo it, but I know I have to accept that one day I have to adapt more to this culture, and also in the way that I also accept a lot of other things. The commute world here, with people traveling more than an hour to go to work, is something that you have to do completely different, because in Denmark, if you have 20 minutes to work, it's a long trip. So it's another thing to how to do the management, and you have to accept that also in the way that you cannot make a formula that fits to Oslo, to London, to Copenhagen. It's not the same.
Do you think also, as you grow more restaurants across more countries, that you would have to formalize more things?
I really hope I should not do that. I hope I can do it without, but you never know. But I can see the pressure now with getting big, and also this corporate pressure, that some things you just have to do it. Also, unless you have to be there yourself 24 hours, and I also want to be there for my kids. So
yeah,
it's a really a balance sometimes. But I will try to keep the personality in our management as long as possible.
If we then take it a bit out to the current situation, hospitality, it's hard. We already touched on, and getting the right people, recruiting them, and then retain them. What is it that's really shifting in your view? What is it that changing in the expectations from people today? And I guess you can almost take the view from Scandinavia to the UK. Is there some things that as an operator that you just need to be much more aware of, and change, of course, as well?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, this business have changed a lot. The 10, 15 years we have been working this, and when we started, being a bartender, waiter was one of the best job you could have as a young person in Denmark, and not because of the money, but all the attention and a lot of other stuff. And it was really difficult to get the best waiter position in Aarhus or Copenhagen. But now there are so many other opportunities, and people have so many other demands than just get the attention. And so you really have to focus in making the job and the atmosphere in another point of view. But I think one of the things are still there for us is that we are still based in the big cities, and so we have a lot of people coming in, moving in, start studying, have this as a job while they're studying, and then they work there more and more. So for us, we still keep this. It's a really good place to meet new people when you're new in London or when you're new in Copenhagen. It's amazing to have a job in a restaurant, because it's an amazing place to meet new friends. And we have a lot of our staff during the years that are friends for life. We have a lot of some married now, they have kids, everything. So this family thing you can make in a restaurant is something you cannot get in another kind of job, because you work in strange hours, your work is tough, and you can sit down afterwards, have a glass of wine or whatever you can do together. So there's so much where you really get together, and that's what we're trying to keep, this family feeling. So if you need a partner in life, then get a job in our restaurant.
It's true for me as well. I found my partner in the restaurant world as well. And that's how it is. What do you see, you talked about the importance of, profit and, happy employees or being nice to people are really connected. How do you keep the balance on that, when tough things goes tough? I guess you've been through some tough times as well, where, you need now really to tighten the belt because it's tough times, and lots of people have tough times in the moment out there. But how do you balance that and make sure that you still are delivering on equally on those two things?
Yeah, we tried that many times. Also the pandemic, of course, but also other kind of periods, and we had concept that was not performing and stuff like that. So it's really a really tough balance. But actually, I think the other balance is also really tough when it's going really well, and also trying to keep that, because you know that this will not last forever. So you cannot just give them. It's a really big balance, and also we are expanding. So when we had success in one restaurant, we used the money to build another restaurant. So none of us have really big fancy houses or big cars or stuff like that. We invested in new restaurants. So it's still a balance all the time, that trying to keep them motivated, give them, not give them, and then not. So I think, to answer your question, I think it's just trying to put yourself into this position. I think that's one of the main reasons we can do that. If there's something tough, we try to put ourselves in this position, because we started as a waiter and a bartender or in the kitchen, so we know exactly the feeling. And our old bosses from many years ago in Aarhus, there was some of the richest people in Aarhus, so we know also how to work in a group with no contact to the management. So we know exactly how it is. So we really try to keep that balance, keep in the position of the employees, and try to speak with them.
And it's interesting often that, the harder thing as you grow is to keep in the shoes of where you were yourself once, because you, as you say, you develop and you move on. And I guess that's by being next to them as well, you can really explain how much transparency do we have on, your numbers and how it's going. Are you telling the staff that, you see that becomes more and more, some organizations become much more open about, the P&L. This is where we are. This is the situation. This is why we can do what we can do.
The managers and the head chefs, they got more or less totally transparency. They know everything. Some of the numbers we are telling, but it's also not to confuse them, because some of the staff, they don't care about that, actually. They just want to have a good job, meet new people, and have fun, and make some money for themselves. So it's a balance. It's not that we try to hide it or anything like that, but the managers knows the numbers, and of course the guest feedback we tell people. Everybody gets the mail. How is the feedback? So and they know the salary percentage. They know the cost of food percentage. So we try to keep them open if staff want to listen, but no, not everybody want to be involved.
No, but I think it's there, and then you're sharing it, and I guess I've been myself, and I've heard about people that's been in an environment where not even the general manager runs the restaurant knows exactly about how the P&L looks, and therefore you can't really run the place, because you don't know if you're doing that, how that impact that.
Exactly. So we for the managers, they have open books. They can see everything.
What about technology? Does that play as you've been growing the business?
Yeah, a lot. We've been, I think for some places we've been one of the first movers on some technology in Denmark. Also because we are not to say anything bad about the other kind of restaurants, but we are not owned by chefs. So our focus is not that much about creating something new, kind of special dish. So our focus was to create some special atmosphere for our guests. And that reason we also try to incorporate data. And so for us, we use data a lot. For us, a good dish is the dish that sells the most. So every time we make a new menu, we look at the data, what are people ordering and stuff like that, instead of focusing on what we prefer ourselves.
And how do you use technology to facilitate the culture and make sure that, because the customer reviews is probably very technology driven, and thereby it feeds the culture with positive and negative feedback, but other things you're doing to actually make sure that you are in touch with your people? Because 700 people, I'm just thinking, on so many destinations, it's hard to reach them all.
Yeah, we have an app made by a Danish company called Monetary, where it's like an internal app where we can put up recipes, we can put up all the communications, you can chat to each other, and it connects with our schedule system called Plan Day. So every day, the shift managers can create a group directly from Plan Day into Monitory and say, today's focus is blah, blah, blah. So instead of having a staff meeting every day physical, because people don't have time anymore to come 1 hour before the shift or whatever, they just get it written on the phone. So every day when they sit in the train or in the bus, they can read what is focused for today. So yeah, they get that electronically, and we all the communication with the staff. So sometimes people are asking for a staff meeting, but actually every time we try, we can see that the things we're telling about is something we already written in electronic. So the staff meeting, we try to make it more like the social thing. Yeah. And then all the information, all the important thing is electronic. And same, all our customer service, everything is more or less data and electronic driven now.
What about, do you have like things that you use to measure technology that they measure satisfaction on a regular basis, or is it more surveys based once a year, twice a year? Yeah,
we in the Monitory we have a survey sent out 4 times a year, and we also have some other kind of, sometimes we make some push to see the satisfaction. And then of course we also do this headquarter system where we have a headquarter with the economic, the marketing, customer service. So we send out to the managers surveys to, are you happy with the marketing department and stuff like that. So we do that all the time, and all our restaurants it's from the guest point of view, it's completely different. It's one is Asian, one is steakhouse. Yeah. But behind the scenes is completely the same. Yeah, so all the same systems, same electronic. So we can also move around staff. So if you've been working a long time in a steakhouse and if you want to try something new challenge, you can go into the Asian concept and try some other food and some other way to do it. But the boring stuff in your work is the same. It's the same POS system. It's the same way you communicate, and everything is the same. Yeah.
What about you talked about social gatherings? Do you have like some key rituals in the organization, like events, things that happens that really makes you DiningSix?
Yes, we have some. Yeah, we have we have one big staff party where we collect everybody from all the countries to one big party, and we make like an award show where we make the waiter of the year and the chef of the year. But I think the most important social things is the not planned. They give the managers the options to sit down after a crazy shift where they break a record and just put 2 bottles of vodka on the table and said, let's celebrate this. So the managers during the day, they can do that if they want. We just tell them they have to put it in the system. But it's up to you what you think people should have afterwards. So I think the best social gatherings is actually the non-planned. Yeah. And especially the non-planned from the head office. So when we give the staff this free space to sit together and learn each other, sit down. So a lot of restaurants, the managers ask for buying board games and stuff like that. So you just sit after work. Nothing, not have to include alcohol. You just sit and play a board game together. Sometimes we have a projector. They put a movie on or something like that. Yeah. That's actually the best social activities, I think.
It's interesting. Again, you're giving them permission and the framework to be able to do that, because sometimes that's actually quite hard as a manager to be allowed to spend that money or do those.
And of course, sometimes it can go the other way. It went too crazy. So of course, it's also a balance that we have to say to them, if you're going to work next morning, you have to be ready. Then you cannot make a party to 5 a.m. with people that
has to go to work.
Has to go to work a day after. But so it's a mix about trying to give them this free space without making too much rules. But
what would be the top advice you would give to somebody that's on a similar journey and wants to create their special culture? Because we hadn't talked about it. Every culture is different, and there's different things that triggers to make it great, but what would be like your top advice as people go on that journey?
It's really to use yourself. You cannot put culture into a bottle. You cannot do something that not you. So and you cannot manage people in another way than you are. So you really have to stick to your own way of doing it and keep that. Be yourself. It sounds like a cliche, but it's really important not try to be someone that you're not are, because your staff will notice straight away. Yeah. And every time you try to be somebody else, it will affect the way you work straight away.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. I've been through myself and seen myself is that when you either come into a culture where you are not from the beginning and you come with your ways, and they actually work really well, then it's not going to work. Because if you're there to change things, it's not good, because the culture lies with the founder and the founder seat. So often those businesses really struggle as they either grow or become more professional, because the original feeling of being you or the founder. Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong to be a restaurant owned by a chef who's really creative with food. Yeah. There's nothing wrong if we have a restaurant with a really business guy with a suit all the day, but you have to be it 100%.
Yeah. You can't be in the twilight zone.
No, you cannot try. If one day it happens, maybe once a year, I have to wear a suit to meet somebody from a bank or something like that, my staff are laughing at me, and so I could never be that person. No. And I could never be the creative chef anyway. No. So I have to stick with what I am and be proud of that.
Yeah. Where can people connect with you if they want to hear more about what you're doing, get maybe some advice? Or
I think more or less all over every social channel, but of course LinkedIn is something I use. And you can share my mail in your profile if you want to as well.
Yeah. We'll put that in the show notes, the website, LinkedIn, and your email as well, Morten. Thank you so much for meeting up here in London to have a chat about your journey, but also how you build a business that people want to join and stay with and grow together with you as the 5 partners.
Thank you.